Welcome to the Sanity Project Podcast, where you can awaken your mind to clarity and success even in today's life challenges. We're here to provide insights and solutions that will help you live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hello, everybody. This is Joanne Victoria with another amazing episode of the Sanity Project Podcast. You are here to discover a life of clarity, confidence, sanity, and entrepreneurial success. Our guest today is Sandy Vo. Sandy Vo is a visionary, meditation teacher, and yogi. Sandy is the founder of globally related Prosperous the Podcast and her signature transformation program, Prosperous School of Self-Realization, a 90-day integrative breakthrough experience for modern-day leaders. Sandy supports others in bridging the gap between the outer world of achievements and the inner world of fulfillment. She offers a heart-centered, holistic approach that integrates the mind, body, spirit, and guides individuals, no matter how busy, to experience life's greatest prosperity, which is self-realization. She is also the co-founder of a conscious medium platform, Ladies Aligned. Welcome to the show, Sandy Vo.
Thank you so much for having me, Joanne, and what a beautiful introduction. I'm very happy to be here and to be in the space that you have cultivated yourself for people to discover their true calling.
Well, that's important to me, and I know it's important to you on many levels as well. So how did you get here, Sandy? How did you become a yogi, a meditation teacher? I know you had some issues in your background that forced you, I would say, to come to terms with what was going on in your life. So how did you get here?
Yeah, so I think we've all had those experiences in our lives where there's defining moments. And when I say defining moments, they're moments or a series of moments that really created the pathway for you to shift and become who you are today. And for me, those defining moments were mostly in my teenage years. I grew up as a very happy child. I remember watching videos of myself dancing on top of coffee tables with my family around me. I'm from the Vietnamese culture, so half Vietnamese, Indian, and African American. And in the Eastern culture, it's very family oriented. So I would have all my aunts, my uncles, everyone's just sitting around clapping. And I would be like, boom, boom, buck, boom, boom, buck. And I would just dance and I would rap. And I was just this vibrant child with a beautiful childhood. But all of that came to a crash during my teenage years when my parents got a divorce. And a lot of the things that we experience in our later adulthood stems from the root of what happened when we were younger. And so, even when I talk, I often refer to this essence of the inner child. And I felt that during my teenage years, I started to feel robbed of my inner child because when my parents got divorced, I started to take the lead on being the mom and the dad. I actually had a year of my life where we were without both of our parents as they were sorting out their marriage. I said that I wanted to be somewhere else, and I moved to Florida with my aunt, with my siblings, and we spent a whole year without them. And those were really the beginning stages of where the depression I felt anchored in that I didn't even know that I had. So like a lot of kids, I wanted to work hard and I wanted to fulfill the American dream for my parents who were immigrants. And so I used this pain that I didn't know that I had, but I masked the pain through achievement. So I would go to school, I would be in honors, I would go through college, and I would work really hard only to get so burnt out that I lost all sight of myself to a point of crippling depression, losing my mind, not knowing what it actually feels like to be present, constantly in a state of anxiety, scattered brained, and I felt not normal. I felt like I would go to I remember going through like a drive-through and thinking, how does this cashier register, the person that's giving me food at the drive-thru or checking me out at the drive-thru. How are they doing that right now? How is it possible to operate in that way? Something that simple, because I was just so burnt out from doing so much. And then all of that came to a head when I felt completely energy-less. And I had to be in this position where I eventually was led to my meditation teacher, who taught me so much of what I know now. And my life has been a completely different route since then.
Sounds like a lot of struggles. And I know that, God, this marriage and divorce issue, I have no idea. There must be a better way, I swear. People don't realize how children are affected by it. And then when the parents decide to be a little grown up after 10 years or something of raising children and screwing them up from all sides, it just doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. I've always thought that marriage in itself, not always, just in the last several years, what purpose does marriage serve? And why can't we have relationships without getting married? Why not? I just think it might be better for the children. Or don't have any if you've got that many problems. I don't know. It's a quandary I've been in for a while myself. So you say your meditation teacher helped you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I, at that point, it was actually a summer where I had experienced complete burnout. I was juggling multiple jobs at one time. I did a bodybuilding competition because I got so unhealthy and gained so much weight that I thought, let's do a whole nother extreme. And I put myself in the position of competing to prove something to myself. Maybe if I had a fitter body, then I'm going to be happy and I can be normal like everybody else. So I did that. But after that high, I experienced my lowest of lows. And that's when I felt like maybe the only answer that I have is to take my own life. And it was through that experience that I was led to an Ayurvedic practitioner. Ayurveda stands for the science of life, and it's a very old, ancient healing medicine system from India. Mm-hmm. And this doctor was the first doctor that sat with me for 3 hours and thoroughly asked me questions and made me feel very understood. And he said, "You don't need medication," because it was something that my body was just rejecting at the time. He said, "You need meditation." So he got on the phone with my healthcare doctor, my main doctor, my primary doctor is what I meant to say. And he talked to the meditation teacher, and they said, "Okay, let's let her do some meditation for a couple weeks, a month, and let's see how she does. And if after that it's not so great, then we'll definitely, have to put her on some medication." And I agreed to that. So I knew that this was pretty much my lifeline. And if I wanted to get better, then I actually needed to do the work. And so when I met my meditation teacher for the first time, he brought me down this route of really showing me that he can understand my mind greater than I could understand my own mind. And I found that to be so fascinating that I can talk to somebody that can understand my mind at such a level that it's greater than I can even understand myself. And he had this profound ability to mirror that to me in a way where I could understand myself at a deeper level. And for the first time, I felt like, geez, I'm not crazy.
Wow. When you just said that, I've said that several times throughout my life. I swear. That's why it hit me like right in the larynx. I'm not crazy. And there are several people listening right now who are saying the same thing. All of a sudden, there's this big aha moment. And Ayurveda, to me, it helped me a great deal several years ago. It's miraculous. That's all I will say. If people want to do it, fine. You don't want to do it, fine. But it was miraculous for me. But to say I'm not crazy, yeah, it's not me. It's the other guy. but it's just an amazing place to be when when you especially were on the verge of so many things that would prevent the world from experiencing you, i.e. suicide and whatever else you were doing to kill yourself in your overachievement, that you discovered you haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah. And that was a really beautiful moment for me. And I'll never forget it, despite during that time, there was a lot of things that were blurry to me. My memory is very foggy during that time. I almost felt like I blacked out from life because I just was in such a state of depression. But in that moment, I felt this sense of self-acceptance for the first time, not even knowing what that meant, but knowing that it's what I felt. I felt seen, I felt understood. And then when he taught me how to meditate for the first time. Now, mind you, this is not the type of meditation where you go to a yoga class and then afterwards you sit down, you close your eyes, and then you take a breath and you meditate. What he taught me, I felt that it stemmed back to thousands and thousands of years ago. And it was a remembrance. It wasn't, this is something new that I've never done before. It was a remembrance. And in that meditation, I felt home. And the best way that I could describe it was a feeling of being in my mother's womb. It was this feeling of, I'm safe, I'm protected, I'm floating, I'm free, and I'm being nurtured by my mother's voice. And I just felt so at home, except this time I wasn't relying on my mom. I wasn't relying on a boyfriend or a partner outside of me. I wasn't relying on achievements outside of me. Suddenly, for the first time, this sense of peace and happiness was something that I was experiencing from inside of me. And I experienced this aha moment of, wow, everything that I worked so hard for, that I was chasing in the outer world, actually isn't outside of me. It's been within me all along. And we hear these things a lot when we're watching movies, when we listen to these podcasts, but actually being able to experience it and to understand what it feels like on a cellular and a cellular level is something that just wakes you up. It wakes you up to your spirit. It helps you to recognize that you are so much more than just your mind. You are so much more than your body. You are so much more than your thoughts. And there's more to you than the identity of who you attach yourself to.
And this is what you practice today with your clients.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you're talking about your School of Self-Realization, it's a 90-day program. And you're dealing with leaders, men and women. What, you don't have to obviously give away any state secrets, but what happens? I mean, I'm sure the beginning part might be a breakthrough or breakdown of some of your clients. So just give me a mild version so that people would be interested to contact you about this program.
So what I've seen happen through the 90 days for a lot of people is this experience of detaching from the identities of what they thought that they were. So many people, they go through the program and they identify themselves as, I'm a mom and that's all I am, or I'm a leader. I do this for other people and that's how I define myself. And when we define ourselves based on our identity, then we're not experiencing our full human potential, because now our potential is limited because it's based on something that is constantly going to change. And that's based on the outer world. And so what we do in the beginning of Prosperous is we actually don't even get into too much of the deeper stuff just yet. We actually talk about their environment. We make them feel safe. So it's really important that when people are going through this process, that they're not just suddenly being jolted into this experience and ripped apart. It's more of a very gentle, it's like a warm blanket that you put on. First, it's about, do you have the environment set up right now to create the type of space that you want to know yourself at a deeper level, because I can teach you everything that I know. I can teach you breathing techniques. I can teach you powerful ways to channel your energy and laser focus your mind. But if you're living in an environment that is crowded and scattered, it's a representation of what's going on in your mind. And so just like the fastest way to speak to the mind is through the body, the fastest way to reset the mind sometimes is also to reset the environment that we're in. So we actually take the time to understand what their core values are, what's important to them. And then we create an environment around that. And once that is done, that's when we get into some of the deeper things that we provide in Prosperous. We look at the unconscious mind. We look at the roots and the patterns, the habits that surface itself over and over again. I have so many people say things like, I feel like I keep repeating the same thing and I don't know why. And I get so frustrated with myself. It's this experience of feeling as if you are walking in a revolving door, not knowing that there is a way out. And so we look at what is in the unconscious part of the mind. And then I start teaching them tools like meditation and different breathing techniques to help them to transform some of those thoughts. So what they learn is very simple and very practical. It's not about thinking that you need to buy a plane ticket and go to India or Bali to have this transformational or this awakening. It happens within your own home. It happens within your four walls, the conversations you're having with your husband or your kids. That's where the change actually begins. And this is why, this is what Prosperous does. It helps people to experience that change wherever they are at. It meets you right there.
Yes, I think that's similar to the saying, wherever you go, there you are. You do take yourself with you. And if people have the opportunity to work with you in the systems that you have set up and provide themselves with a breakthrough because you are helping them do that, it's invaluable, especially today. So do you have one-on-ones? You have groups here? I mean, with the dramas that we've had for the past 20 months about people flying somewhere to participate in a retreat, are you doing those, or how are you meeting with your people?
Yeah, so Prosperous is online. It's a virtual program, and we meet 2 times a week. And there's the lessons that you'll go through that are very interactive video lessons that you can do on your own time. And that's Prosperous. And then I do have private mentorship, which I limit to 3 people at a time on a 6-month basis. And then we are doing retreats as well. So we have a retreat that's coming up in March in the it's by the Gulf of Mexico in Sarasota. And that's where it's a little bit more intensive. That's where you get to really dive into and experiment some of the practices that I teach. Right now, we're also shifting into working with organizations. So we've really refined, this model of mind, body, spirit. And now we're looking to bring this work into more corporations so that people can experience less burnout in the workplace.
Which is a huge problem. And I think it will continue for a few more years until there's another huge shift. There has to be a shift with more people involved in order to create change on a massive way, especially in the large companies. So what type are you specific? We don't know who our listeners are for sure. So what types of companies would you be working with if somebody who's listening, and I do carry over some listeners from the IT world and the C-suite as well as the higher level people. So what types of companies do you think you would be working with?
The kinds of companies I would love to work with are companies that are focused in tech, who are helping us to advance the world, engineers, people who are a lot of meditation and what people learn is actually inner engineering. So this work relates to them. I taught at an engineering school, RPI, which I think you know because you were in New York. So right. I taught some workshops there, and I really enjoy being able to relate it to what they know, which is engineering. We're definitely C-suite executives as well. people who are leaders and have great responsibility. There's almost this interesting thing that happens in the corporate world where we feel like we're split in two. Half of us on the outside is saying, I'm fine, I've got everything together. And we look that way and everything looks great on paper. But then on the inside, we feel lost, we feel confused, we feel like there's something wrong with us, we feel crazy, and we feel like we're not allowed to be any of those things. So we spend our lives putting this facade on. And especially in the work environment, because there's money involved, there's our livelihood involved. So something like the program, like what I would bring into these corporations, it's called well-being in the workplace, is going to help them to find a place of acceptance, to learn how to train their minds and their bodies to experience their own creativity. So when you experience a problem and you can't solve it in the tech world, in the engineering world, or, while you're working with a bigger client and you're beating your head against the brick wall, how do you create space between your thoughts so that new information can come to you, new ideas can come to you? And that's what meditation and the process of meditation does. So through this well-being in the workplace program, I hope that it provides people with almost like this menu of different techniques that they can pull depending on wherever they're at. So you can do it while you're in the car, while you're sitting on the toilet in between your breaks, while you're in your lunch break. It's something that is so practical that it's simple to start and it's simple to sustain.
And if once you have everybody on the same track, moving in the same direction, which is always the key, when you're dealing with groups of people, whether the groups are 10 or 100 or 1,000, then you have possibilities, except for the outliers that will always be there. People listen, if you're in a large group, there's always going to be somebody who's going to try to screw it up because that's your test. It doesn't mean they're wrong. They're testing you on a psychic level. Be grateful for who they are and the fact that they're presenting themselves to you, because this gives you an opportunity to learn more about who you are and how you react, because reacting is the biggest problem. So as they move forward in a large group, there is a possibility of major change in whatever world you'd be working in, major change. I see that as a great opportunity. And do you have a team of people that you work with? Do you do it yourself, or?
I do have a team, but in terms of the teaching, I do it myself. Yes.
Okay. You must be a Taurus or something.
I do. I'm not a Taurus. I'm a Scorpio, but my fiance is a Taurus, and he definitely plays a huge part in this as well. He's part of my team too.
Yeah. It's like, I'm in charge. Go away. I'm in charge. Everybody has their own job to do. Go do your job. Don't come to me with an unfulfilled task, and let me do my thing, because this is what I have to do. And you're lucky that you have a partner who is in alignment with you.
Yes, I am very blessed to have the team that I have that understands me at such a great level, that just allows me the space to go and give and help, give this energy into different places. So that's something that we're focusing on for 2022, and I'm excited about bringing this to more organizations. It lights me up to be in the room and to face people, to feel them, to see them thoroughly, and to offer them actual techniques that they can apply right away and experience what it feels like right away. It's not something that you try and you see later on, but it's something you will feel right away, especially if you have been in such a state of hustle and grind. It's almost like your nervous system gets this refresh or this reset button, and you start noticing things begin to shift off of one simple technique that is being taught.
Well, we didn't touch on what you were originally going to talk about, and that's on me. However, you've been so interesting till this point. But you have here why fast success is a recipe for stress and burnout. Can you give a synopsis for that?
Yeah. If we look at our education system, we were taught at a very young age that in order to be successful, we have to do things fast, right? Like there's a deadline for everything. If you want to write an essay, there's a deadline for that. If you want to pass this exam, there's a deadline for that. And what do most of us do? We rush until the very end. At least for me, I was an honor student, but I didn't do it by cramming my head all that often. I rushed at the end and I would cram all the information towards the end. I would memorize as many facts as I possibly can. I would burn my fingers out from rereading things on my index card as much as I can. And then based on that, I would hope that I would get an A. And if I get an A, then I deem myself as successful. And if I get an F, then I deem myself as unworthy. I deem myself as a failure. I failed myself. I failed my parents. I failed my teachers. And so if you look at how we have been conditioned through our education system at a young age, we have taught ourselves that if we want success, then it needs to be fast. And there's a very certain route that you have to take. You graduate from school, then you graduate from college, then you get a job and you get a 9-to-5, and then you get married and you do a really good job so you can keep your pension and you can have your 401k. And it's a very particular track that from an education level we were taught to have. And so that track is, number one, not for everybody. And oftentimes that track doesn't actually honor our nature, our true nature, our way of actually being. We're asking ourselves to suppress ourselves inside of walls, inside of buildings for long periods of times without breaks, to be thinking and processing the entire time. And so we're actually training our brains to solve problems all the time. And I've worked with psychologists, psychiatrists, where even when they are not in their work environment, they constantly feel like they're looking for problems to solve. Because at a root level, we've trained our minds to always look for problems to solve. And so this is a fast track to complete burnout. And we don't realize this, but at an unconscious level, we're doing this over and over and over again. And when we can choose between the slower track or the fast track, we're always going to choose the fast track because that's what society does. And when we do that, we set ourselves up for a different kind of failure. We fail our heart. We're not tending to our heart. We're skipping past the things that our heart actually wants to feel. We're closing ourselves up because we're moving so fast. We can't possibly be present to what is right in front of us. We are no longer in touch, especially for us women, with our inner wisdom and our intuition that has so much that it wants to tell us, but we're so busy that we can't even hear what it has to say. And over again, we forsake ourselves for the sake of this thing that we call success. So that's how we set ourselves up for a fast track to burnout. And what we can do in the process of that is we can learn how to, and I just moved down to Florida from New York, and they have this term down here called island time. Mm-hmm. So it's learning how to basically live on island time, where you're kind of just laying back in your hammock and you have this very rested way of looking at your life. And this takes a long time to kind of rewire, but with the right practices and techniques, you can absolutely lean backwards a little bit more, relax your shoulders a little bit more. And the way that you view life is through the eyes of somebody that is here to enjoy life, not somebody that needs to reach a finish line to get somewhere. I mean, what is the point of going through our lives so fast if it means that we can't enjoy everything along the way? And if it means that we're just going to die at the end of it, right? So it's really about learning how to reset ourselves, to slow down, to be back in tune with what our own nature is. And that's why Ayurveda is so profound and miraculous. Like you said, Joanne, it helps us to understand our own unique nature and how to nurture that and how to surrender to that along the way.
That's perfect. Okay, we end on that. And I want you to tell people how they can find you, Sandy.
So you can find me on sandyvo.com. And my favorite way to connect is not through social media. It's through long form content. So you can listen to my podcasts where they're very meditative and they give you a space to reflect. And I have YouTube videos as well.
There we are. This has been an enlightening, exciting visit, and I want all of those who are listening right now to re-listen to this podcast. There's a lot of content here. You did not get it all in one fell swoop. Take some private time, take a pen, take a pad of paper, listen to the content, listen to Sandy Vo, take notes, and then when you're ready, you can give her a call, go to her website, whatever it is you need to do. But I think you'll find that what Sandy does is life-changing. Thank you very much, Sandy Vo, for being here today. It's been a delight.
Thank you, Joanne. It was a pleasure connecting with you. You feel like a very kindred spirit, so it's very nice to be here with you today.
Yes. Thank you for listening, everybody, and thank you, Sandy Vo. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com to listen to more podcasts. Check out Joanne's coaching programs and get a free copy of her report, 5 Steps to Achieve Life-Work Harmony. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.